Okay, now we are in the part of that we can participate in this portion. Right now, well, what I try to do is just to imagine a lot of things happening to Jacob. Honestly, sometimes when we read that all these chapters, we lost the timeline, and we lost how the time advanced, and how old was Jacob, and also that we live in a world that I really love what the rabbi used to say. We are living in a time when we want everything very quickly. Okay, we go to a restaurant and we don't want to wait 2 hours to eat. We want to, for example, to buy a burger, and we want the burger in a car in the drive-through, and just spend 45 seconds, 2 seconds. Okay. um, or sometimes people doesn't want, for example, the youth people doesn't want to wait too much for success. They sometimes believe that I'm getting out from the university, and now I have my degree, and now I will be very good paid. But this is not how the world really uh, works. Okay, we need time. If we look at Jacob's life, okay, he knew obviously Abraham. So Abraham also, Esau knew Abraham. They were like 15 years old when Abraham died. So uh, when you are 15 years old, you can remember what your grandparents told you, teach you. Okay, so these kids honestly received the blessing directly from Abraham, and then from Isaac. Um, and and, when they were at 15 years old, is when the Torah says that Esau lost the firstborn, right? Okay, because he was very hungry, and Esau wanted to eat something, which means the person who is controlled by his body, okay, by his feelings, by his desires. And then we have a Jacob, okay, who saw the opportunity, and talked to him, and told him, oh, would you like to sell me your firstborn, right, for a soup of beans? And then Esau said, okay, what is that about? So just give me food I want to eat, and please take it. Okay, probably he didn't remember that, but it is written in the Torah. So that is something uh, that this is how Esau lost his firstborn, right? And sometimes when we are discussing with another people, sometimes we forget that some of our words that uh, coming out from our tongue, um, they are here in the sky. Okay, so uh, so the point is that at this moment, uh, yes, he took the opportunity. And then what does it say, the Torah? Well, later, one day, probably Isaac thought, I'm gonna die, and I gotta call my kids. And then he was deceived by by Jacob. Okay. Uh, and then Esau didn't receive the blessing of his father. But that happened uh, many years later. And then uh, right now, Jacob is at age of 77. I don't know if that is proper, but what I'm gonna tell, because I don't want to put it bad, but it's like King Charles. Remember, King Charles started to work at 70 years old, almost. So uh, when his mother died, okay, this is like Jacob. Can you imagine a person starting to work out? Not like King Charles, because he 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 had opportunities, not well, he inherited a lot of things, but Jacob had to flee. Yeah, the Midrashim says that one of the kids of Esau wanted to kill him, and he was robbed, and then he lost everything in the way of to Haran. But the Torah doesn't say nothing about it. For me, is that he was so crazy. Is like uh, I don't know, but I remember when I was killed during the war. Sometimes we started to see the guerrilla with the army of El Salvador fighting in front of you. So what happened to people? They fled. Okay, if they have shoppings, for example, in their hands, okay, they just flee, they run away and try to save their lives. They forget that the things they carry, okay, because they wanted to be safe. So in this case, is the very same thing. Jacob is like, okay, his mother received like a sign, okay, of of uh, of God telling her, okay, Esau wanted to kill Jacob. So when you have a person that is a risk for you, for example, if I have a person who I met and he has guns and weapons and things like that, and someone tell me, remember that guy, he wanted to kill you, so I'm gonna believe, honestly, because I know that person is violent, that person is a hunter, that person is very cold, that he probably never think about, oh, I'm gonna shoot Mauricio, so I have to flee. Okay, so in this case, Jacob did this, he need to flee, to run away. So when he left Beersheba, which is very interesting, Beersheba. Remember that Isaac had a problems with opening and closing wells. Okay, 3 times he had a problems with the people of Gerar, and then finally he settled at Beersheba, so that becomes a house. He was not longer a normal person. He established there. So that means that he uh, 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 get uh, prosperity. He established himself, which gives you a peace inside of you, which gives stability, which gives many things to yourself. For example, if I remember, I used to work in a company, American company, and I had to travel. And yes, at the beginning was very, very happy, because I was meeting new places, and I was very young, and and yes, I met many places, but inside of me, I wanted to rest at my bed, for example, at my father's house. I wanted to have my mother's food. Okay, I wanted to have things that gives you stability, because I wanted to dwell in a place at least 6 months. Okay, but when every week you are traveling from one place to another, or 2 weeks one place to another, then you lost the capability to be a stable person. Okay, and then you get depression. At the end, uh, I quit from that job, uh, and God blessed me with my current job. But it's the very same. I can imagine, for example, Isaac with family going from one place to another, didn't have stability, and then at Beersheba, he finds his sweet home. Okay, so at that moment, he realized himself. He gets something. He get a prize, and now his son um, is 77 years old. He always have food at his table. He always have commodities, uh, uh, his own tent, his own place, servants, etc. And now he's running away. In the way you are going from one place to another, from Beersheba for example, to Haran, which is close to Turkey, in Syria. So it's not by walking. It's not one day walking. It takes time. Okay, so and there were not GPS as today we have, or Google Maps, and so he had to face very adversities on the way. Okay, he had to, for example, to face theft. He had to face dangers for animals, cold, um, a lot of warm, for thirsty, uh, to be hungry, things like that, and no money on his pocket. That is, it's a very huge problem. Okay, so when you look and do not lose the what is in between the verses, then you realize that he's at that moment. I can imagine how he felt. Uh, but if I was Jacob, honestly, uh, I will cry probably, and I get upset with my brother, upset with my mom and dad, and with God probably, and felt like, oh, God doesn't love me. Uh, how it could be that my father gave me a blessing, and now I'm living without money, without house, without a roof, without a table. Can you imagine that? So he was on the lowest place in the world. Okay, so when we read, uh, and I'm gonna take the verses as we read today. Uh, in the verse 10 says, Jacob left. Okay, which means he voluntarily wanted to leave. Okay, Beersheba. And why he wanted to leave Beersheba? Because he wanted to leave. Okay, and then and set out for Haran. So it looks very easy, but it was a hard decision for him. Okay, and then says, okay, at that moment he is alone, no money on his pocket, no families, no friends, nobody could help him. That also his safety and security, he lost that. And then it says, he arrived at a certain place, which means makom, okay? Eh, so it's very interesting that the Torah doesn't say the name of that place. Yes, later it says that was Bethel, and the name of that city was Luz. But it seems that is not a geographical place because it doesn't have name. It's not important the place he rested, okay? Which is important is that he go to a place with no name, which means, for example, for Rashi, is God himself. Is like going through another place out of this world. Uh, and then at that certain place, which is Makom, he spent the night there, for the sun had set. So easily can we say, oh yeah, the sun set, but it's not a meteorological uh, things that is saying. No, which means is that if we go to look for spirituality, we can say uh, Jacob get to the place God wanted to talk to him, and it's interesting. The night is darkness. So he were at that place at night when it's very dark. Sometimes in our lives we have times that we are in a dark place, in a dark moments in our lives. I cannot imagine, for example, uh, things that are dark for people. For example, when we lost beloved ones, when we lost job, when we lost business, when we lost houses, when we lost car, when we lost family relatives, uh, or things that we want too much. That is the way that we can say, oh, that is the moment of darkness in our lives. Okay, when people, you cannot, for example, get out from your house with your kippah safe, because you know there are many people who want us to hurt you. That is the dark place. Okay, and then the sun. Who is the sun of the day? God. And then God, he is hidden. Okay. God is not there. It seems that God is not there, no longer there. I remember uh, when we were kids, my father lost his company. He had a construction company. And then we lost our house, the cars, the persons who helped my father, uh, employees, and we lost everything. And I remember the day we went to the apartment where my dad that my dad bought. I remember my mother was crying because it was almost 10% of the space that we used to have before. We lost everything. So uh, that is that dark place. And probably sometimes we believe, oh, God is not here. Okay. And then what Jacob made, did, sorry, Jacob took stones of the place. Okay. That is very interesting because the stones, what we do when when a person died, what we put on the tomb, we put the stones. Why? because the stones mean something that endures forever, that lasts eternally. Big, uh, big buildings, okay, they need a cornerstone. In that cornerstone, uh, um, hold the whole the whole building. Okay, so it's interesting that he took stones. That is not casualty. Okay, and from where? From that place. What is that place? God. And he placed. That is another interesting thing at his head. And you can say, okay, sometimes I remember that I have the gift of God to 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 sleep at any place. My wife says that, and my kids, oh, my dad can sleep wherever, okay, at any place. But I cannot rest my head over a stone, okay, because the stone is cold, is very uncomfortable. But which means he took the stones of Macomb, okay, on the head. And what is in our head? Oh, that our our desires, our intellect, eh, our thoughts, our desires, our feelings, okay, everything. And then when he placed at his head those stones, he lay down. Sometimes, um, when we are very tired, very stressed, very burn out, okay, sometimes we just want to close the eyes to rest, and people cannot rest. but but Jacob could lay down at that place to sleep. So what is to sleep? To sleep is not only rest. To when you sleep, you lose the consciousness, okay, of yourself. You cannot be aware of what is happening around you, okay, because when you are sleeping, someone can go in front of you, and you didn't notice that he that person passed before you, uh, because you are sleeping. So it's like to turn off your thoughts, to turn off your desires, to turn off your consciousness, to turn off everything that you have learned, uh, to turn off all your strength or your vision, to say, okay, that's enough. I cannot, God. Okay, I need to rest. In when your thoughts are turning off, then God reveals. That's why in the next verse it says, he dreamt, and behold, a ladder. Okay. And this is very interesting. God can reveal to someone that can turn off all his head, okay, all the consciousness, all the capabilities, all the uh, of everything. And then it says, he saw a ladder, okay, sulam, was set on the ground. And it's interesting. Uh, when I put any ladder at home, uh, to 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 make any kind of job, that, for example, if this is the ladder, we cannot put the ladder erected. I mean, like a pillar. We need to lay down a little bit so it rests the top in on the ground. So at the end, you can climb. But in this ladder, was like a, stuck on the ground in very deep in the ground, and this is like a connection, like a link between God in which is the heaven, and also the sky, in the ground, which means the man. And between all of these, there are uh, uh, some personage, which are the it says, and behold, angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And this is very interesting because yes, Jacob is leaving Canaan and going to another place. So one of the things that sages said, okay, the angels that protected on Israel are different from the angels that protect Jacob at Haran. So that is one meaning. Another meaning is, oh no, Malachim are people like, for example, the link that later we can read at the Torah is how the priest presented to God offerings up in receiving from God uh, messages. And so this is another interpretation. Also, Malachim uh, could be our, our prayers to God, and then God sending the responses to our prayings. But for me, it's like I am Jacob and saying to God, "Oh God, I can give you everything I am, okay, everything that I know, everything that I deceive, my past, my guiltiness, and everything to you, and I want to receive a new direction, a new mission in my work, a new purpose." And so uh, that's why they were ascending and then descending. Can you can you imagine, for example, this picture with Moses? Moses ascending and then received a message from God, and then he was descending. Okay, that is some picture. And then, and behold, Adonai stood next to him and said, I am Adonai, the God of Abraham, your father, and God of Isaac. The ground upon which you are laying, I will give it to you and to your offspring. And then God revealed himself. He presented himself to Jacob. Until this moment, only his grandparent in their his mother and father received God's voice, and now Jacob, at the age of 77, is receiving God's message directly. So in the promise he's telling him is the very same, probably, um, story that Abraham told to him. Okay, and then that gives to Jacob probably a new meaning of life. Yes, I remember that, continuing with my story of my family. I remember that one day my dad just decided to go away from home and get a job. Okay, that was a new beginning for him. Um, Sometimes that is what we need, the new beginning, and God is the God of new beginnings. And then it says, um, that he's affirming the promise given to Abraham and to Isaac, to Jacob. Okay. And God says, I will protect you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I promised you. And this is sometimes, yes, you can imagine things that you are hearing, but sometimes you know when God is calling you, when God is telling you something. And Jacob woke up and sleep. And he said, uh, surely Adonai is in this place. I didn't know it. I was not aware that God was here. I just looked that it was night. It was a dark place. It was a place where I didn't notice that God was close to me. So he reveals himself. And then we can see Jacob changing his mind. There is a point of inflection which he is like twisting, like making a 180 degrees, okay, his life, his mind, and then he receives a promise. And in this promise, God is telling him, you will receive a family. So right now, until 77 years old, Jacob was only receiving blessings. Okay, a food, family, mother, father, brother, um, tents, and I don't know what else. And then at 77 years old, now he's finding a new purpose. He started to see that yes, I received the blessings, but I need to work to get the blessings material, okay, to become a blessing for the world. And now he needs to find out his way. But now surely he's knowing that God is guiding him. Okay, that God is putting all the pieces to to grow and to make something for his life. So sometimes it's like this, okay, because um, if we put ourselves at Jacob's, we can realize that Jacob, honestly, uh, when you are 70 years old and you are getting out from your house for first time and you have money, you don't have nothing, yes, probably you can become eager to say, "Oh God, what's next? I don't know. I don't know what to do." But when you receive something from God, comfort from God, then it's much better. I remember some words of the Rabbi Percy. He said, "Okay, it is not the very same thing when you are completely alone and you are broken and you are uh, probably in a bad moment of your lives, because there is a very difference between one person who has God and another person who doesn't want to have God with him. The comfort inside the soul, the comfort of his consciousness, even though you can see everything around you very dark, it is not the same. So that is the thing I wanted to put, probably from persons that you may know or yourself or even me. Uh, Sometimes we need God put us into the path of darkness. Okay, and as we read the valley of death. Okay, but God is comforting us, and what God is looking at, He's looking that we are gold. Okay, I don't know if you ever have ever had the opportunity to see how is gold getting out, taking out from the ground. No, the gold doesn't look gold, the yellow one. Okay, Eh, it needs to have a process to become gold. Okay, you can imagine, oh, this is not gold. You are looking at a stone, for example, but and on that stone, on that dirty stone, there is gold, but needs to take a process. So God is looking at Job said, uh, "You are gold. We are gold. Okay, I am gold. Yeah, even though we look that we are okay. In that, what does it mean? That you worth, that you are valuable for God, that we have a very high price, okay, before Him. So that is that I wanted to talk a little bit. So I don't know if someone wants to participate to say something.
First of all, thank you. There's a lot of gold in your message and a very rich message. So I don't know what to add except, well, one thing I really like struck me when you said uh, the ladder of Jacob was ascending and like sending to God, and then he like your prayers go up and God answers come down, and you compared it to Moses going up to get the Ten Commandments or the commandments and coming down and bringing it to us. That's a beautiful picture, and also the idea of time. We don't have the correct idea of time. Like when we're going through a hard time, for example, and it starts to go on, and like we expect quick answers, and God doesn't forget. Like I found that sometimes something that I almost forgot that I prayed about maybe years ago, and then it happens. Let's say somebody who I haven't spoken to for a long time, and I wonder why our relationship's not there, and then a few years later it comes. It's like time is very special, and we have to be patient even in our times of darkness. So I like that whole talk about time. Pretty much, anyway, it's very rich, all the things you said, very special. So,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah,
So um, I believe that you know Jacob had to wait 77 minus 15, 62 years, okay, to see the blessing. Okay,
yeah.
so um, which means a lot of time. Okay, probably I'm looking at a person that doesn't live 62 years, and so it's a whole life. And I can remember all the process of the persons. For example, can you imagine um, Abraham getting out from the land of Ur at 75 years old, or Moses presenting himself before Paro at 80 years old? Okay, so uh, sometimes, honestly, I don't know why. Uh, or Noah, for example, at 500 years. So, so what does it really means that 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 we don't have to desperate, okay, ourselves when we don't look answers, because the answer will come when we are prepared to receive them, and we are prepared when we turn off everything inside of our mind.
Such a
Eh,
hard thing.
and that is a very hard thing, because we when 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 we have the control is when we are awake. Oh, I can handle this, I can do this, I have this answer. But God appears to Jacob when he was sleeping. He was not aware what is happening. Okay, and every detail that is written in the Torah is something also that I love, because honestly, I read many times this portion and I didn't realize how rich is, if every word that is written and it's not something that is casualty that is written like that. Okay, so um, I hope most of us are not going to Haran, but from Haran to Israel right now, because um, in Jacob, he was getting the success uh, step by step. Okay, we can read in this portion that uh, first of all, Lavan ran out to find Jacob because probably he thought, oh, this is the Isaac's uh, son. He probably have money because he remember everything that well, it says that the tradition that was Eleazar, but is the Torah says is the servant of Abraham gave some gifts. So probably he said, "Oh, if I receive 20, now I'm gonna receive 40." So that is Laban. So and then he realized and told to Jacob, Jacob, there is something that I know that you have a blessing because God is blessing me for you, for your lonely presence. And that is something that also happens to many people that I know that fear God. Uh, for example, at my company, it's not that I putting myself in a pedestal, but I know that God is blessing my boss because of me. You know, that is blessing my company because of me. And that is not something to be, oh, I am better than anyone. No, isn't that is not, but it's because when there are persons like you, who fear God, who follow the Torah and who follow the 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 and practice the Torah, the commandments, then I don't know what happened, but God start to bless that place that you are. Okay.
Remember with Joseph too?
Yes, like Joseph. Outside, you can see that Joseph was a slave from outside, but the persons who were close to Joseph recognized that he was a blessing at that place. Okay. Uh, in so we are a fountain of blessing, and that is very important because sometimes, yes, I cannot imagine before God called Jacob how he felt. I mean, probably he was. There is a song in Spanish that said that I am a poor cucaracha, a poor croc, 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 I don't can remember. It is a black one that going inside. Is an insect. Okay, and so, but at the end we are the blessing, and that is something. That is why God is looking to us and said, "Oh, you are a blessing." So that is, uh, I think, is what I wanted to give, and thank you for being here. I'm gonna stop the record.